here we go. We are about to crown our Whiskey Madness champion. Just wanted to thank you guys for taking this journey with me. I think it was a lot of fun, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Hopefully everyone got to drink some good whiskey, and chasing unicorns is a hell of a lot of fun. But you know what? There's some really good whiskey out there that's always ready and always sit on the shelves at a pretty reasonable price. So I hope you enjoyed this little journey with me. So thank you for participating. I'm going to go through round one kind of a little more slowly and talk about each bottle and each matchup. Rounds 2, 3, and 4 will go much quicker. We'll just give the scores and move through them. If you are the impatient type, feel free to scroll to the end and see the final bracket revealed. But if you have a few minutes, why don't you grab your scoring sheets and your notes and, I don't know, pour a little bit of whiskey in a glass. If it's first thing in the morning and you're watching this video, well, then pour a little whiskey in your coffee. Let's get into it here. So we drank 30 bottles of whiskey. That's a lot. 22 and a half liters. 480 of those little ass bottles. I don't know if this is something we should be proud of or something we should bring up in our next therapy session, but there it is. There are the facts. Here's the bracket. This is what we've been building. So let's start filling it in. Let's get into round one and our first matchup. So matchup one was the Jefferson's Reserve Cask Strength. Comes in 130 proof, right around $70. And those prices are total wine prices. Versus the Larceny Barrel Proof, so 125 proof, same price, right at that $70. Jefferson's is cool company. It's out of Kentucky, known for blending and experimentation. They make a lot of cool stuff. People are very familiar with Jefferson's Ocean. This is just their cask strength version here. This one is their bourbon without any edits, just straight from the barrel. Paired it up with another barrel proof bourbon. This one is wheated, so just like something like Pappy's, you take the rye out of the mash bill, you put wheat in its place. Although unlike Pappy's, this one comes out pretty hot at barrel proof. So at a final score of 28-19, the Larceny had a solid victory here. We say goodbye to Jefferson's. Matchup number 2. This was Old Fitz Bottled and Bond. That's a 7-year Bottled and Bond bourbon. Comes in right around $60. Versus the John J. Bowman, not Bottled and Bond, but is 100 proof as well. Basically the same price, $59. The Old Fitz is another wheated bourbon coming out of the Heaven Hill Distillery in Kentucky. We'll have a bunch of Heaven Hill products, or several Heaven Hill products in this competition. Versus the John Bowman. The Bowman products are cool. So these are actually triple distilled. The first two distillations in Kentucky. Then the distillate is shipped to Virginia, where this distillery is. The third distillation takes place in Virginia, and then it's aged and bottled there. God, they have some really good products. So final score, 31-29. It was a close one, but we say goodbye to the Old Fitz. Moving on to matchup 3. Now, this one is the Elijah Craig. Comes in at 94 proof, so we're starting to get into some of the lower proof offerings here. Versus the Michter's. This is their kind of flagship, their US 1 standard bourbon. 94 proof versus 91 proof. If you notice the price a little bit different, the Elijah Craig wasn't supposed to be in this whole thing. I grabbed the wrong bottle, to be honest. And then when I matched them up together, I'm like, well, shit, that's going to be an obvious Michter's victory. The Elijah Craig, it's interesting, Elijah Craig is named after the Reverend Elijah Craig, who supposedly was the first to come up with the idea of aging whiskey in charred oak barrels as opposed to non-charred. And of course, Michter's great reputation. Some of the things that make them pretty unique is that they toast the barrels before charring, sort of backwards. And they put the distillate in the barrel at a lower proof, much lower than most other distilleries. They put it in at like 103 proof, so most of their products are lower proof. Um, but at a score of 33-30, the Elijah Craig, the underdog, wasn't supposed to be here, walks away with the victory, sending Michter's home. Matchup number 4. Woodford Reserve Double Oaked versus Old Elk. This is their straight blended bourbon, their flagship product. Both right around 90 proof, $50 to $60 for these products. The Woodford Double, so what makes this different than the standard Woodfords is that their second barreling is a heavily toasted and lightly charred barrel that they finish it in. So that's interesting. And then the Old Elk, all the Old Elk products, they use a slow cut proofing process. So rather than just dumping water into their barrel proof to get down to whatever proof they're looking for, they add water very slowly, this drip sort of process, which the idea is that they preserve the texture and the mouthfeel of the higher proof bourbon without altering that, instead of just getting down to whatever proof they're looking for. So with a final score of 32-26, Woodford Reserve Double Oak has a pretty convincing victory here. Goodbye, Old Elk. Number 5. This matchup will feature the largest blowout of the entire bracket. So our first bottle is the Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is their Origin Series bourbon, right around 96 proof, $50 about. And this one goes against Old Forester 1910. Just about the same proof, just about the same price. Bardstown's cool. It's very new, very innovative, high-tech sort of campus that focuses on these sort of less traditional products, these innovative finishes and custom distilling processes for different companies. Even they have these collaborations, or they're making all sorts of really cool stuff out of that facility in Kentucky. And it's matched up against Old Forester, which is America's oldest bottled bourbon, dating back to 1870. The 1910 offering here that we have in our competition was actually inspired by a fire that occurred in 1910, which happened during the bottling process, forcing them to rebarrel the unbottled product that they had rather than wasting it because of the fire. And it was rebarreled rather than these heavily charred barrels, and the product came out pretty good. So they've been sort of honoring that with a similar process here in modern times. So like I said, this is the biggest blowout with a score of 35-25. The Old Forester takes it, sending Bardstown home. Old school beats out new school. Let's go on to matchup 6, which interestingly was the closest matchup of the entire bracket as well. So this one featured the Knob Creek 12-year. Interesting, 12-year for $67. That's pretty cool. It's bottled at 100 proof, and we're going to match that up with a bottled and bond offering, which of course is 100 proof, out of Heaven Hill. It's the second one out of Heaven Hill. The Knob Creek line is out of the Jim Beam distillery. This is the longest aged whiskey that we have in this whole competition, and matched up against this Heaven Hill product, which is half of the age, is 7 years, a little over half of the aging time, with a score of 29-28. Just eking out a victory over Knob Creek. We'll see Heaven Hill make it to the next round, but don't forget about old Knob Creek 12. I think it's pretty damn good. Matchup number 7. This one featured Peerless. This is their standard small batch. They don't have anything larger than a small batch. Everything they make is small batch, versus the Four Roses Small Batch Select. So Peerless is pretty interesting in that they use a sweet mash process. There's no backset, no sour mash process. So it's pretty rare amongst the readily produced bourbons that are out there now. Versus the Four Rose. Four Rose have 10 Four Roses have 10 recipes, 10 mash bill and yeast combinations, and this is hand selected 6 of the 10 and blended together. So you get a pretty complex product for being just a small batch, with a score of 30 to 28, a close one, but we say goodbye to Four Roses. And finally, our last matchup in round 1. This one is Still Austin. That's their cast strength versus Wild Turkey barrel proof as well. So both of these are cast strength offerings. 116 proof for both, right around $55 to $60. Still Austin out of Texas. It's one of the few true grain to glass products out of Texas. Everything, the corn, the rye, the barley, everything is grown right there, and they say that the extreme Texas heat really sort of accelerates the oak extraction process during aging. So that's their little claim to fame. And then of course Wild Turkey out of Kentucky. This one's a blend of out of 6, 8, and 12-year uncut bourbons. Pretty highly regarded product. But you drank, you voted. I'm going to score of 36 to 30. Still Austin makes it through. So here we go. There's the bracket. There's a first round filled in. And the winners from that first round. Coming up to round 2. I should have looked up what these symbols are, but damn it, I forgot. And I'm recording this video, so I'm an idiot. Matchup circle with a line through it. I don't know. Is that a sigma? It's probably a sigma. This was at Larceny Wheated versus the Bowman with a score of 35 to 30. We say goodbye to Larceny. We have our Bowman, our triple distilled product, going through to the next round. Our second matchup, Pitchfork. The Elijah Craig, the underdog, wasn't supposed to even be in this competition, going up against Woodford Double Oaked. With a score of 32 to 27, we say goodbye to the underdog. Reverend Elijah Craig, we bid you adieu. Omega. I got that one. Matchup Omega. There's the Old Forester versus the Heaven Hill with a score of 34 to 27. Old Forester takes it. And we move on to Delta. Our Peerless versus Still Austin. 33 to 27. Goodbye, Kentucky. Hello, Texas. Oh boy, here we go. We're filling it in. Let's get into the semifinals. Remember, the semifinals had Diamonds versus Clubs, or whatever. Matchup Diamond. We put the Bowman against the Woodford. These were good. It was getting harder and harder each round. With a score of 39 to 37, a close one. Such a close one. Bowman, goodbye. Thank you for your service. Clubs. Old Forester, Still Austin. Battle of the tall bottles. Battle of the tall bottles. That's what I tried to say. 41 to 35. It really wasn't that close. Old Forester takes it. And here we go. A moment you have all been looking forward to. A moment we've been building and drinking towards. Here come our finals. For our finals, we feature the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked versus the Old Forester 1910. 2 bottles you've seen every single time you go to the liquor store. These were amazing. What a matchup. I mean, on any given day, different mood, the wind blowing in a different direction. Hell, this could have been anyone's game, but you drank, you scored, you enjoyed, I hope. And the winner of our Whiskey Madness competition with a score of 41 to 38. Ladies and gentlemen, your champion, Old Forester 1910. Thank you guys again. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a hell of a great time. Go out there and get some Old Forester.